Hello and welcome to Your Health in Your Hands, and welcome to the year 2025. We made it. And we have a lot to thank God for the year 2024, the ups, the downs, the good as well as the bad. In my case, it was very, very eventful for us at BBF, Brain and Body Foundation. We had a lot of victories. We're coming closer and closer to our goal of reducing the death rate of children suffering with sickle cell disease from over 75% to less than 10% by the age of 5, because that is our goal. And we've had so many things happen in the right direction. So I'm very grateful. But other than that, I'm also grateful for the things that he has done in my family, my personal life. Everyone has been healthy and strong, and so we're very, very grateful for that. And I'm sure you have a lot to thank God for as well. Now, if you haven't made up all your New Year resolutions yet, I would like you to consider including this resolution, and that's to be stronger. That by the time 2026 comes around, this time next year, you would have been stronger physically, mentally, and spiritually, as it doesn't matter what age you are. And I'm going to be talking about, probably in the next few weeks, I'll be talking about the things that you need to do, specifically as a Black person, to take control and take charge of your health, specific areas of your health. Because from what I've seen, Black people's health is not focused on. And I'm not saying that because people are mean. I'm just saying that, well, research, for one, we don't have as much research. And that's probably because we Black people don't like going for research as much. But also because many of the drugs and many of the tests and lab reports and the imaging studies have been focused primarily on the white man. Not the white person, because women too have been excluded, and white women have been excluded, and they're complaining a lot too, and they're trying to change that. So it's been focused primarily on the white man, and basically what these researchers and scientists have done has been to extrapolate, to take the results they found in white men and assume that it applies across the board to all races and to all genders, or to both genders. So, and that has left Black people, especially, well, I would say out, for lack of a better expression, out in the rain, so to speak. And so there are a lot of things that we are missing out with regards to treatment, with regards to what exactly to do. So I'm saying all this to say it is our responsibility as Black people to understand what we need to strengthen our brains and strengthen our bodies. And in other words, push out all the noise, everything everybody else is saying, and just really focus on the fundamentals, the basic principles, how our brains work and what our brains and bodies need in order to function optimally. And that's what I hope to do in the next coming weeks. I'll be focusing on, again, specific areas that we are most vulnerable in. Whether it's immune system, I'm giving it away now, but immune system or cardiovascular system vulnerabilities. And these are some of the things that make us more prone to some of the diseases, the worst diseases in the world now that is killing people, that are killing people. We tend to have them the worst. So hopefully we'll be looking at specific reasons, specific areas where we can actively strengthen our brains and bodies. And I hope you will join us in this journey. So let's get into it.
Honestly, I see this foundation as a great solution to what has befallen people naturally in terms of bad, most especially sickle cell. People who are really, a lot of people over there have died when this thing didn't come. But thank God that this foundation has really been a very great help by bringing this thing. I lost count of the number of the drugs, the supplement that it has helped in the villages like Darfur, in Bokos, in Haipang, in Benue, in Abuja, in Karu, Lord. If I have not, we have solicited for these drugs for people who are really suffering from it. They've consumed a lot of it. In fact, my daughter is a living example. She's as strong as feeding. She's as strong as a horse. Because when she started taking the drugs, we've reduced a lot of money on expenses in the hospital. So I just want to say that Brain and Body Foundation, please, well done, and then you should intensify more and pour more drugs for us so that it should be a regular thing. Not that when we take it after 2 months, then we don't see, then they bounce back to their crisis. No, it should be a regular thing. Thank you so much. God bless Brain and Body Foundation.
All right, so let's talk about what it's going to take or what we should focus on when it comes to building strength in 2025, so that when we look back in 2026, this time next year, we'll say, wow, I did this, and this, and I'm the better for it, I'm the stronger for it, I'm the healthier for it. So let's get into it. What are we going to look at? As I mentioned to you, what I've seen in my experience is that the focus when it comes to medical treatment, prevention, diagnosis, tests, and so on, the focus has always been on the white man, not just the white person, but the white man. And therefore, there are a lot of things that are being left out because they just assumed that everybody was going to be the same. But Black people are very different biologically, biochemically, physiologically than white people are. And we need to be aware of these things so we can take the right steps to protect and strengthen our bodies. Make men large and strong, and tyranny will bankrupt itself in building shackles for them. This was by a preacher. And think about this. If people are taught their rights, if people are taught what to accept and what not to accept, if people are taught what questions to ask of their doctors, what tests they should do, whether it's for their brain or their body, they will know, they'll be more empowered to take care of their health. And unfortunately, that is not happening like it should. And therefore, it is very important that you pay specific attention to what we're talking about. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're different from whites. These are just some of the ways in which we're different. But you'll see in a little while that these are targeted, they're mainly focused on one system more than any other system, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Look at number 5 and number 6. And again, I mean, these videos are all on our websites, so you can always reach out for us, and we will share them with you. I believe NTA too will capture them and put them on the YouTube channel. But number 5 and number 6 show that we have increased risks for hypertension and diabetes. That's nothing new. I've been talking about this now for years. So our focus is going to be on the cardiovascular system and the immune system. Today, we're going to be focusing on the cardiovascular system. But I just want to point out some things about the cardiovascular system and the immune system. The number one thing when it comes to cardiovascular health is the health of the arteries. The arteries are those blood vessels that take blood, and blood includes nutrients and water and fluids and everything that cells in the body need. The arteries take that blood from the heart to the different organs in the body. If anything goes wrong with the arteries, a lot of things can go wrong. And you have some of them that we've listed here. Everything from erectile dysfunction to poor wound healing to number 9, cognitive impairment and dementia, including Alzheimer's disease, which is what I treat. We treat at the Brain and Body Foundation, which we train and teach about, especially in the city of Baltimore, where I am currently. So just not having, and it makes sense, right? If your arteries are not healthy, it shows the arteries are the lifeblood. The arteries take the lifeblood, they take the nutrients and everything from the heart to the organs. If the organs are not getting enough nutrients, if they're not getting enough oxygen, they cannot be healthy. So it makes sense that there's so many things can go wrong. But also the immune system as well. And this is another thing that we see. And you may be wondering, you may be thinking, oh, well, we face a lot of infections, we fight, we survive, we're stronger than white people. And that may be true when it comes to infections. But when it comes to other things like cancer, allergies, asthma, digestive problems, we see that our immune systems are not working as well. And I'm going to tell you why and when we get to this. But here's a whole list of things. And again, you can see at the bottom, if the immune system is not working well, your brain is not going to be working well. And I'm shocked that we're not talking about this like we should. And again, when it comes to Black people, our immune systems. There are issues there because our immune systems are not being given the resources that they need, and they're not really being talked about again. Hopefully we'll talk about this, and hopefully we'll treat it to your satisfaction. All right. There's a picture of the cardiovascular system. I mentioned earlier that the number one thing to a healthy cardiovascular system are the healthy arteries. So as you can see, there's a picture here of a normal artery. It's like a cross section through a normal artery. I'm not going to go into much detail, but you can see the innermost layer here is a thin layer of cells called the intima. This has to be soft. It has to be smooth, like a baby's, someone says like a baby's bottom, right? Very smooth and no rough edges at all. Now, what happens is that with age, that changes. We tend to get rough. It tends to accumulate certain things called plaques and so on. It's worse if you have diabetes or hypertension. And this is what happens as you grow older and older. Our job, and really we now know it's possible to reverse this. So you can actually improve the health of your cardiovascular system as you grow older. You can actually clean it up. There are things that can be done. And I've done that a lot with my patients. We can actually clean up your blood vessels as you grow older. But bottom line is that the arteries have to be soft and smooth. They have to be pliable. They shouldn't be hard. They shouldn't be stiff. They should be soft. And that makes sense so that blood can flow. They can be flexible enough for blood to flow through. Again, as we grow older, that tends to change, especially if you have a disease you're dealing with. There's another picture that shows what a normal, this first section here is a normal vessel. Then as with time, it can get to be blocked to over 70%. We do not want that to happen. So the question is why? Why is it that Black people tend to have higher rates of these problems? I've listed about 7 here, but I'm going to narrow it down to about 3 or 4 that we're going to treat in the next 10 or so minutes. What the list includes: salt sensitivity, calcium, obesity, something called homocysteine. We're not going to talk about that now because I really want to focus on the top 3: calcium sensitivity, salt sensitivity, and sugar sensitivity. Let's start with calcium. If you notice this, one of the most effective and most successful drugs for treating hypertension in Black people. We Black people have a different kind of hypertension than white people do. But one of the most important drugs is a drug called amlodipine. And then there's Norvax and other variations of that. But bottom line is that it's what is called a calcium channel blocker. Emphasis on the word blocker. In other words, this drug blocks calcium effect. And it shows, and they have seen, that we tend to be more sensitive to calcium. And so if you can block the effects of calcium, the blood vessels will be softer and pliable and more expansive, more flexible, rather than stiff. So that's one of the most effective drugs for the treatment of hypertension, blocking calcium. It does not work as well in white people. It works better for Black people. Number 2, the other thing is sodium sensitivity. If you've heard them say it before that we should stop eating salts, that salt causes hypertension. Not as much for white people, but for Black people, we're more salt sensitive. One of the reasons for that, and I'm getting ahead of myself now, but one of the reasons for that is that we have lower levels. We tend to have, I think it's either genetically, but we tend to have lower levels of potassium. Potassium is like an antagonist. It blocks the effects of sodium, so that it helps to relax the blood vessels. Sodium and salt sensitivity makes the blood vessels tighter and stiffer. Potassium counteracts that. And I've seen that in my patients when they're not working, and they're not responding well to the antihypertensive drugs they're given. If we add potassium and another supplement called magnesium and vitamin D, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but we found that that helps to make the drugs work better. Now, you have to go check with your doctor. Don't just go to this drugstore and buy these things. Check with your doctor first. I'm just letting you know some of the things we have found, and it is well documented. All right. So the third one is sugar sensitivity. We tend to have we tend to be more sensitive to sugar, and the irony of it all is that we like sugar the most. White people even mention it to me that, oh, they see black people just put so much sugar in their coffee or their tea, they're shocked. And these are people who they just volunteer this information. It's not like we're having a deep discussion about it. They just out of the blue, they just mention it. I've realized it too. I've seen it in my friends. I've seen it in my relatives. We tend to like sugar. Again, the irony is that we are not able to handle it as well. And one of the reasons for that is because of certain nutrients that we're lacking. One of them is vitamin D. I know I talk about vitamin D a lot. Okay, I want to show you this. The reason I'm showing you this picture is that this is a teaspoon of sugar. After a meal, maybe 2 or 3 hours after a meal, what the body is most comfortable with is not more than a teaspoon of sugar in the whole body. So think about that. A sandwich contains like at least 4 teaspoons of sugar. A can of Coke, multiple times that, maybe 8 teaspoons of sugar. So every time you put these foods or these junk foods into your body is fighting to bring those levels, once you eat them, down to the level of a teaspoon. So it's trying to push the sugar into all the muscles, the liver, the cells of the body. It is not comfortable with anything more than a teaspoon. So you need to understand that. You don't want to overload your body with sugar. The problem, and now how does having high levels of sugar relate to unhealthy or diseased blood vessels? It's simple. The sugar causes what is known as inflammation, and it causes damage to the inner lining of the blood vessels, causing there to be increased risk of plaque and clot accumulation in those parts. So it's very important that you see these things. So these three, salt sugar sensitivity, calcium sensitivity, and sugar sensitivity are 3 of the top reasons why blacks tend to have higher rates of cardiovascular disease than whites. What should we do about this? I'm going to get into that in the next few minutes that we have. One, please, when you pass the age of 40, all this junk food that you were enjoying as a teenager, they need to be stopped or reduced. So I'm going to strongly advise you, sweet, whether it's sodas, orange juice, whether it's Coca-Cola, whatever it is, you want to have to reduce these things. Same thing with fried foods, processed foods. These are foods that are killing black people in this country. And because black people, they actually market to black people more than anything. These food manufacturing companies, they market to black people, and they are saying that this is what is causing their blood levels, the blood sugar to go high, the hypertension, and to cause hypertension, and all the other things that follow from those things. So I really want to encourage you to reduce those. But it's also about starchy foods. It's not just about sweet foods. It's also about starchy foods. Pounded yam, eba. Try to reduce your portion. So these are some of the pictures here. These are all junk food, from pizzas to donuts, orishi. But also, I have the picture of egusi and pounded yam. And I know I'm stepping on toes. I'm from Ekiti myself. I love pounded yam, but I've had to learn to reduce my portion. Maybe take off a third. Nobody needs carbohydrates, by the way. We need proteins, we need fats, but we can make all the carbohydrates we need from those two. So I strongly encourage you to reduce the amount of solid you're eating on a daily basis, because that converts to sugar very quickly, and therefore it creates a burden on your pancreas and your ability to handle sugar. So it's very important that you address that. It's not just avoiding things that will help you. It's doing specific things. I can tell you just to eat healthy, and that means nothing. I can tell you to eat a balanced diet. That really means nothing too. What matters is getting the right nutrients in your body. But here are some general principles. You want to take cooked food rather than fried foods. The fried foods have a lot of the oils that they use to fry these foods can be very toxic to your brain and body. Excuse me. Excuse me. The oils that you use to fry these foods, or the oils that are used by the restaurant or the wherever, or the akara person, those oils are fried over and over again, and they create toxic substances that are damaging to your brain and your body. So try to switch from fried to cooked or boiled. I know it's not as tasty, but try that, or at least reduce that. You also want to switch from starchy foods to more protein-rich foods, because you want to start building your muscles. I'll probably talk about the importance of strong muscles. It's not just to look good. I can tell you that. It's also very important for the brain. And also you want to go to whole foods, avoid packaged foods. You want to get, if it's fruits and vegetables, eat fruits and vegetables. Don't take the things that are in the package that have been preserved and have a lot of chemicals in them. Again, it's not enough to have a balanced diet. There are other nutrients, and these are the nutrients that I have found, or we have found, that are extremely important, not just for people in general, but for Black people in particular. And I call them the non-negotiables. These are the most basic things that you must have. What we have found is that these are not available in your diet in the ample amounts. Vitamin D, of course, more than anything, is not available. The way you get enough vitamin D is by going out in the sun and exposing your skin to the sun. Many people don't like to do that. Again, Black people don't like to do that, and we need the sun the most. So these are the 7 things. Again, you can check us out. You can reach out to us, and we'll probably let you have the slides. I've shown some of the things. So when we're talking about salt sensitivity, as I mentioned earlier, potassium and magnesium counteract the effects of salts, therefore making the blood vessels more pliable and flexible. I use it myself every single day because I was dealing with hypertension. Thankfully, I've been able to control my hypertension. Again, check with your doctor. Calcium sensitivity, sugar sensitivity, vitamin D3, vitamin B1, vitamin C are extremely important to address sugar sensitivities. I want to say a few things about vitamin D3 as we close, because to me it's shocking that we're not emphasizing this for Black people. This should be basic. Any doctor seeing any Black person, the number one thing they want to check out for is, does this person have enough vitamin D in their body? Because this is one of the things that is killing us. We're not having enough vitamin D, and it is leading to a host of problems. Everything from dementia to cancers to diabetes and so on. We must take vitamin D more seriously. If you're a doctor, if you are not checking and insisting that a person has ample levels of vitamin D, you are not giving your patients your best. So please pay attention to that. We have seen that it works even in sickle cell disease. Yes, even sickle cell disease. And we've done major research in Lagos to show that vitamin D is very important. Here's the normal range it should be. I'm just going to rush through this. I have a picture showing the test they've done on rats or mice, and they've shown that those who don't have enough vitamin D, you can see the bottom line here. You can see how weak and thin this mouse looks, as opposed to its sibling, who looks healthy and has a nice white, shiny, healthy coat. This other pup is very sickly, very, very sickly, because they are lacking in vitamin D. Some doctors complain that, the vitamin D might raise calcium levels, it might be toxic and so on. Well, in that case, consider taking a vitamin D and K2 combination. This combination is very, very, very important, and it can be very, very, very helpful. So consider that vitamin D3 K2 combination. And I'm sure it will be very, very helpful, because what K2 does is that K2 takes the calcium and pushes it into the bones and the teeth. If in many cases it's not a problem, but to placate or to please doctors, I always say, all right, advise them to take the vitamin D3 and K2, because the main problem with taking too much vitamin D is high calcium, which can cause kidney stones. But it's in very, very, very rare occasions. I've been treating people with vitamin D for decades, and no one has complained that I haven't had that issue. But it's wise to take D3, K2. If you can't find that in the stores, reach out to us. We should be able to get them for you. All right. There are other factors that affect cardiovascular health. Of course, there are other factors, but such as things like good sleep, exercise, mental health, reducing your stress, speaking the right words, and so on. But this is one thing that you can change right now. And so I really want to encourage you to take this seriously. And this brings us to the end of part 1 of Building Strength in 2025. I want to thank you for listening to us. I'm going to end this very shortly, but I want to thank you again for listening, for joining us today. Your health is in your hands, and you have in your hands the ability to turn almost anything around, if you are given the right tools, if you are given the right instructions. And I hope this provides you with the instructions that you need to achieve that goal. God bless you. We shall see you next week. Again, if you have any questions, kindly reach out to us. We shall hopefully point you in the right direction. God bless you. Take care and see you next week. Bye.